Arundhati Bhattacharya is Chairman at State Bank of India. She is joining us right now to take some questions. Ma'am, good morning. A pleasure to have you with us here. Prashant this side. I just want to first congratulate you on the first SBI Economics Conclave. And we did cut to that live here on NDTV, and it was great to see you host that panel. It was very interesting to see. Ma'am, I just want to ask you, what is your sense of the government's push that we are seeing for the banking sector? Because I mean, you know, so much is being written up about this is happening, a hold course is going to happen, PSUs will have to sell down to 49%. I mean, you know, n number of things. But you've got the best perspective in terms of what the government's focus is. Can you tell us what that is?
See, one thing that is very positive is that the government is in a totally listening mood. So they are listening to everything, you know, our entire wish lists. They have been listening to it very, very patiently. Now, how many of those they will actually bring into fruition, we don't really know. But we do know that a large number of these will find place very shortly, either before the budget or in the budget or after the budget. Now, what is more important is not only the intent that the government will definitely display, but the subsequent execution. As you know, many of these things can only be done with change of law. Now, how do we tackle that? Because we know that, you know, the changes of law take a lot of time. So can we do it faster through executive fiat? How will it get done? So these things are, I think, at this point of time, making us think more, rather than the fact that the government will accept many of these recommendations. Because we believe the government will do so. They have been, as I said, really discussing matters with us, listening to us. So we are very sure there will be a lot of positive things coming up.
Right. Can I ask you, according to you, what should the government do?
That's a very broad question. I can't really tell you what should the government do.
For the banking sector.
But in respect of the banking sector, for the banking sector also, for the banking sector, 2 or 3 things that we have requested the government. One, of course, is in respect of the capitalization of banks, that we need a clear roadmap so that we can plan accordingly. Second that we have asked for is that we need better way of managing the resolution of stressed assets, especially when it goes into the courts, because it takes too long. So probably we need something that has more teeth, or maybe even in respect of the willful defaulters, etc., which is rather an administrative kind of a fiat at this point of time, whether some legal teeth can be given to it. The third thing that we have really asked for and we look forward to is the fact that financial savings amongst the Indian savers, that has gone down. The rate of savings has fallen. Not only that, most of the Indian savers are saving more in real estate and gold, that is real assets rather than financial assets. If you are looking at the growth of the country, the need for capital is huge, and therefore much of the savings needs to come into financial assets. So how to make it more attractive for people to put money into financial assets? So I think 3-4 major things like this, we definitely hope that there will be some movement. Of course, on the PGNI committee, on the formation of the boards, those are very progressive steps, and I hope the government will definitely look at it in a positive way.
What about deleveraging? I mean, I think Indian corporates deleveraged to the extent of about $5 billion last year. Another $7-10 billion is expected over the next 18 months or so. Is the government sort of focused on that as well? It recognizes the amount of private leverage which needs to come down, and it's kind of insisting that deleveraging happens. Yes.
See, the government cannot directly insist on the corporates to deleverage. But what is happening is we are having a large number of conversations with our borrowers, and wherever we have found that the leverage is high, which is in respect of a large number of people, we are definitely pushing them towards it. I can only say that the government is monitoring this. They are having conversations with us as well as to who all we are talking to and what are their plans. We have also been talking to SEBI. In fact, I was requesting Mr. Sinha as to whether there could be a kind of a tatkal window for maybe, these these IPOs, etc., or FPOs. And he's very open to it, because at this point of time, when you file the DRP, you actually have 4, 5, or at least 3 to 4 rounds of iterations, questions and answers. So all of it takes close on to 6 months' time. So we were trying to see how this can be made a little shorter, maybe whether we can have this all through within 60 days. So that is one of the things that we are talking about or thinking about. And of course, we are talking to a large number of our borrowers and telling them that they need to deleverage. They know it also as well. It's not as though they are also resisting that. They also know it. And a lot of plans are underfoot already.
Okay, I mean, actually SEBI yesterday, as part of its new market reforms, did say that a shareholder with who holds more than 10%, so a significant minority shareholder, can actually, sell his or her stake down through the market directly. I mean, during trading hours, through the offer for sale route. I mean, so I think that is significant. I think it refers to what you were saying earlier. Ma'am, would you say the government has a clear roadmap how to improve performance and asset quality at public sector banks? Would you say that?
See, as I told you, we have not heard so much from the government as they have listened to us. So, exactly what the roadmap will look like. We are not very clear about it. But as I said, because they are listening to all of this, and not only to us, many people have a number of ideas, a number of opinions as to how we can get out of this kind of a problem that we have fallen in. But we are sure about one fact is that the government does want to see things happening. They are very, very focused on starting off the investment cycle again. They are very focused on job creation, and they will do their utmost to ensure that this happens. Because we are very sure about this intent of theirs, we are also sure that they do have a roadmap. Maybe the roadmap is still getting formulated. Maybe it is not something that they have already been sort of laid out for themselves, and which is a good thing, because the kind of broad discussions that we are having across segments of people, that will ensure that they get their act right the first time, instead of going by a hit and miss kind of a methodology. So to that extent, it's a good thing. I think we need to give them a little more time for them to formulate their plan of action. In fact, I remember, when I first took over as chairman, the first 3 months people used to keep on badgering me, what exactly is your roadmap? You have to give people a little time for them to frame the roadmap. I remember after the first quarter, when I went for the second quarter, I laid out a clear roadmap. By then, I had had these broad discussions. I knew what was required to be done. I think the government also needs to be given a little time to come up with something definite.
Yeah, no bar to expectations, I guess. I mean, that's the problem. And hopes are running high. Ma'am, would you say this current rally in equity markets, promoters usually, part with assets, I'm talking about deleveraging, when their backs are to the wall. I mean, I guess not just Indian promoters anywhere, right, who would like to sell assets that they've built over a period of time. Do you think this current rally will raise expectations, and it's kind of going to be hard for even banks to put pressure on corporates to delever, sell unproductive assets? Because, I mean, it's raised corporate hopes as well, that unproductive assets will become productive, and let's wait it out. What's your sense?
No, I don't think, people will want to wait it out. You must understand that we are all looking at explosive growth going forward. Now, if they're going to be part of that growth, they will need to get their equity. They need to have their powder dry in order to, again, participate in the growth cycle. At this point of time, if they don't have the equity, how are they going to take things forward? I'm sure many of these promoters would like to get into new projects as well. And therefore, I think, this is an excellent opportunity for them to sell. They will get better value than they were getting, say, maybe a year back. And therefore, it is in their interest to sell, and they realize this.
Yes. Ma'am, there was a story in one of the newspapers today, and I just want your reaction to this. The story is this. It says that EPFO, the Employee Provident Fund Organization, which has invested about 1.5 lakh crores in deposits with PSU banks, right? about 25% of the total coppers, they essentially can't invest more. That's what the story says. Because I mean, the bad loan levels have breached their internal threshold limits. What impact can this have, ma'am? If this is true, I'm quoting from one of today's newspapers.
We are one of the managers of the EPFO funds, and we have remained the #1 in providing them the yields in the last so many years. In fact, the yields given by our fund managers are by far the #1. So I can always check out with them. But having said that, these are certain internal guidelines of the government which can be relaxed. And that shouldn't really make it difficult for the EPFO to put in funds. Further, as I said, we hope going forward, if these stall projects, etc., if these get moving, then the NPA levels will move down very sharply. Of course, this will take a little time. Maybe it won't happen in 12 months' time, but definitely, the next financial year, we will see all of these moving down as and when the projects which are stalled in between and which are classified as NPAs, as these start performing and the working capital cycle, etc., returns to its normal kind of period. So I don't really think this is anything to get very worried about. On the other side, it also ensures, if for a short period of time also, if they are not able to put money in bank deposits, then that much of money will come into other areas like bond markets, etc. And so to that extent, ultimately it will be put into good use in the markets. So it should be a good thing for us. Other than the fact, the pension funds, etc., at this point of time, their investment policies enable them to take bonds which are only up to AA rated. So obviously, the issuances numbers in which they can participate are rather low. So they would probably need to take a call as to whether, they can relax this a little. Maybe take something like an investment grade bond, say a BBB bond and things like that. So these are things, which the EPFO management will need to discuss. Our fund managers, I'm sure, will provide the inputs. And of course, at the end of it all, the government also needs to give its nod.
Right. But this whole 1.5 lakh crore would be what, 2-3% of the total deposits of the banking sector, right? I mean, so the flow impact, as you say, is not that large. That's what you were referring to.
No, because it is not as though they are going to take away the deposits. They won't make further deposits. I don't think they are going to take away the deposits.
Yes, okay. Ma'am, I just have a broader macro question, and this is a fundamental point. The financial markets world over have prohibited governments from spending, right? They've come down hard. There's the bogey of a rating downgrade, etc., etc. But historically, we've seen that whenever economies are in a slump, the biggest spender, which is the state, has to spend, right? Get things going, and then the private sector follows. While in the long run, there might be a supply issue, and we might be supply starved in most areas. But is there a demand issue in the near term, and how do we solve that? I mean, capacity utilization levels across most industries right now are pretty thin, pretty low.
But I think, India is a slightly different case. It is not only the fact that the government needs to spend. What I would think is more important is where they spend and how they spend. So, it is not as though the government was not spending earlier either. And nowhere on earth does the government stop spending. But we have to ensure that the spend happens in a manner that ensures the maximum amount of job creation, the maximum amount of demand creation. So if the government spends wisely and well, things can still be managed. The other thing is, in India, on account of the fact that because of the policy logjam, there are a lot of unfinished projects. These unfinished projects, if they are declogged and they are put back into the system, that itself would create a lot of GDP growth, and that actually, should do the kicking off that you are talking about, that the government needs to start spending, so it kicks off the investment cycle. Many of our investments are just stuck. So if you just declog them, that itself will do the kickoff of the investment cycle. And as sentiments improve and as people see that these stuck projects are coming through and they are beginning to produce, the other people will also get enthused to come in and start putting up projects. In fact, you know, even the talk of declogging, we are already beginning to hear a number of promoters coming and telling us about how they would like to take things forward. So the talk has already begun, even without any things being spent from the government. I think, you know, the most important thing is not the spend. The most important thing is the sentiment. It is the sentiment that needs to be made positive, and thereafter the other things follow. And there, you know, as I've in the conclave also, that is the reason I had a media panel. And I said that, you know, the media has a role in managing sentiments. Though, of course, we agree that there has to be absolutely free and fair reportage. But even then, you know, managing sentiment is something that is a very important thing for a growing nation like ours. And therefore, we believe, you know, that whenever there is a story, there should be two sides to the story and both sides should come out fairly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Ma'am, you're saying that declogging, right? I mean, clearances to projects, etc., will do bulk of the heavy lifting. Additional capital is not. The capital was there; it was stuck unproductively. So that needs to get flowing once again, and that we are already starting to see. I think today we are seeing some reports, additional projects being cleared. It was kick-started by the UPA over the last 1.5 years, CCI, etc. But I think this government is taking it forward. Yes, ma'am, what's your view on interest rates? Because, you know, many have said, well, rates have to come down. The industry, of course, always clamors for it. They like lower rates. But what's your view? As a banker, what's your view? A fundamental issue, lower rates for longer will finally kill inflation? Or you think the policy of keeping rates high is correct? Yeah.
See, the fact of the matter is inflation is something that hurts everybody. At the end of the day, even if I lower rates, but if everything else is more pricey, including, you know, the fact that you have to give more salaries, including the fact that your raw materials are going to cost more. So if you don't actually take care of inflation, the lowering of rates will be more a sentiment driver than give you actual benefit. So fact of the matter is it is inflation that needs to be cured, and rates is only one of the inputs that goes into all of this. And that's why, you know, we believe that it is a more responsible way to tackle inflation rather than to just tinker with rates, and which is what our central bank has been doing. And I think the government also realizes this, and which is why they are doing everything that is in their powers to ensure that the food inflation comes down. Basically, for the last 4 or 5 years, it is food that has been causing the maximum inflation. And there, you know, there is a supply chain problem. We know for a fact that so much of the food that is produced in this country, it never reaches the market, it simply gets wasted. Now, how do you put this all together, and how do you do it in short order? Maybe in the short order, we'll need to tweak our imports and exports to ensure that, you know, wherever there is a shortage, we quickly import. Wherever there is an excess, we quickly allow exports. So I think, you know, this tweaking on a daily basis to ensure that the supply doesn't get impacted, this is very necessary. I'm sure we have enough forex reserves to manage at least this portion of it. Simultaneously, what needs to be done is to make it easier for the farmers to sell to whoever they want, and that I think the government has already done by asking the Delhi APMC to delist fruits and vegetables. It has been done in a few other states as well. So something like that immediately will also make a difference. And the next thing that the government needs to do is to see how they can create a supply chain, how they can create storages, how they can create a cold chain to ensure that none of our produce goes waste. Now, if all of this is done over a period of say 12 to 18 months, we should be getting a very good handle on this. And I think once we get that, then we can definitely look at a much more benign rate scenario.
Right. It'll be interesting to see if, I mean, you know, after what happened earlier this Tuesday in terms of taking out perishables from the APMC Act, states will take the center's, I mean, advice as they put it, right? Because, I mean, you know, at every state there are lots of vested interests. So, I mean, let's see if it gets done. This is at least one thing,
yes.
A good beginning. Ma'am, just to go back to the core of the issue, which you mentioned earlier as well, bringing down inflation, the RBI has been saying positive real rates are necessary. You said the government needs to encourage financial savings, right? I mean, the savings rate has to go up. Banks need to be liquefied once again in terms of deposits. What else can be done, according to you, apart from tackling inflation, which incentivizes savings, no less? But what else, ma'am? Specifics.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other things that can be done specifically can be done, when we are giving infra loans, we need to give them for a longer period. So maybe allow us to raise bonds, which could have two things. One, it could have some kind of tax-free bonds, just as it is allowed for entities like, say, PFC or REC, or it could have lower preemptions or no preemptions, that is no CRR, SLR requirements. This is something that could definitely be done. That will enable us to ensure that, the infra projects we undertake, we don't tie them in with short repayment periods and give them the amount of time that is necessary for them to repay it without getting stressed out. The second thing that the government could do would also be to look at, the bank savings itself, whether they can take out some of the taxes, the tax deducted at source, especially for the longer term, maybe 3 years and above, whether they could do something over there to ensure that the savers are enthused to put money in. I have always found that, any kind of a tax exemption works excellently well with people because it immediately relates to their needs and they find it very attractive. However, for the government, it is counterproductive because the revenues go down. So you have to have a mix and a balance for both. And I hope that some things or the other will come in to make bank savings even more attractive for people.
Yeah, no, I mean, that we've heard from some infrastructure companies as well. So let's see if it happens. One last question, ma'am, before I let you go. I understand you've got to run for a meeting. The SBI merger thing keeps coming back up, subsidiaries merger. It's happened before. It could happen again. What's the thinking, ma'am, at the parent level?
The thinking is we have just restarted thinking about it. Because even when I came in initially, I had said that at this point of time there are too many things to be done within the parent bank itself, and that was because we were going through a very stressed cycle. And obviously, all our energies and attention was required to be focused on ensuring that we control these stresses as far as possible. Now that we are beginning to sort of see some little bit of stability, and we are also hoping that the kick up in the GDP that we were waiting for, that will happen. Because of that, at this point of time, we can again start looking at the pros and cons. Let me make it very, very clear. This is merely looking at the pros and cons. There is no decision whatsoever as to whether we will merge or we will not merge, what will be the pace of merger if we do it. So these are all currently being looked at. The outcome of what we find, I do not know as yet, and therefore at this point of time there is no way in which I can tell you what would be the roadmap. But maybe in another few months' time we'll have something, and then definitely we'll share it with you all.
Okay, fair enough. So I can say if the cost of doing this is too large, you wouldn't do it, right? Or that's too simplistic.
It's too simplistic. It's too simplistic.
Fair enough, ma'am. It's a pleasure. Great talking to you. Thanks very much for your time. Thanks for staying on. And I hope you can come back more often, ma'am. Thanks very much. Arundhati Bhattacharya, Chairman, State Bank of India, with her thoughts. Let's just take a quick break here. We're going to come back in 2 minutes. And we've got much more coming up on the other side. We'll actually take a look at the market a little deeper, what's really going on. Index is flat, but there's a lot happening at the stock level. So that's coming up. 7528, by the way, just about 12 points lower on the Nifty. Back in 2.